Darker shame, darling, darker shame. Thank you for all the joy and pain.
You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back. This is Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. The show is brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. As an American family agent, Kim believes that there is so much more to insurance than the policy itself. It's about providing you with dependable protection and services. Kim believes that trust and credibility can't be demanded. It can only be earned by what you say and what you do. Give her a call at 651-482-1598 and tell her Gene sent you. We're going to wrap up our story today about in the state of Colorado, this new HOA regulatory agency that's been developed over the last 4 years or so, called the Office of HOA Information and Resources. And try as they might, they're trying to prove their significance, their worth, their value, their importance by why they're needed in this state. And it is a tough sell. They have come up with a recommendation of 6 items. And as I was stating earlier, these 6 recommendations have nothing to do with going to the legislature and establishing further law and statute for governing HOAs. They want a lot of this additional authority and power to go to them because they will know what's best in terms of regulating that industry in Colorado. And the first item they talked about is they want to just do away with the idea that there's any difference, any grandfathering in with old HOAs and their governing documents with current state statutes. Let's just do away with that. The second and third items have to do with the area of law. They want to see number 1, an establishment of binding arbitration programs for owner disputes. And the reason why is they said, we think that there is an inequitable position between the homeowner association, this big entity with gobs of money, versus the individual owner when it comes to resolving disputes. And really, is that what is needed? You know, I've said this same thing before. Is there a regulatory agency for state government when you, as a citizen of the state of Minnesota, don't like something that took place with the state legislature? Don't they, as a government, have more power and authority to get you to respond accordingly to laws that they have established and set up? There isn't anybody that says we need an ombudsman office for the state legislature. Or how about an ombudsman office for the federal government when we don't like what they're doing against us as a citizen of the United States? But somehow, in an HOA, they don't think that there are the proper checks and balances in place. I mean, a person who runs for a board of director and has limited authority in governing that association is doing so only on a temporary basis for a year, maybe a couple of years, and then after that, they have to be reelected. And if people don't like what's going on, it's very easy to pull someone out and put someone else in and to establish the laws, the rules that you want to have in your HOA. It's easier to do that than it is to see something established at the state level. It's easier to do that in your HOA than it is in your local city government. But for some reason, this HOA office needs to be there, and there needs to be a recommendation here now that we need to have binding arbitration. So, in other words, the thought here was that, an individual homeowner doesn't have a lot of money for doing a claim, a lawsuit against their HOA. And so if they don't have a lot of money, it'll be a lot less costly, and they could go ahead and just get something settled with arbitration. And on the face of it, it sounds that sounds right, doesn't it? If you don't have a lot of money, isn't it going to save time? Isn't it going to save money? But when you stop and think about it, I don't like it, and I don't like it for several reasons. Number one, it's taken away the due process of law. There is a due process that each and every one of us are afforded as citizens in our country. And that is, if there is a civil matter or a dispute between two people or two entities, one person has the right to take that other person to court. And if it costs that person a little bit of time and a little bit of money, then so be it. That in and of itself kind of helps stop some frivolous things from taking place. But if it doesn't really cost that much to get anything started, then people are willing to just throw anything and everything into the mix. And I think you'll get more and not less of what it is that you're talking about. More disputes that are just minuscule and dealing with minutia and things that just shouldn't be. When you go through arbitration, it's binding, and there's no process to try and have a retrial. Where in the case of due process right now, if someone wins in court and the other person loses, the person who loses can appeal, and then you can have another court date set. And the Court of Appeals is part of our due process. It's important, but they want to take that part away. And so I've got some concerns because you're taking away due process. I think another concern here that I have deals with they want to also establish, they said as a fourth item, they want a referral system of mediation. So before you get to arbitration, you do have to go through mediation. And what they say is that this proposal, unlike anything else, is going to allow owners and associations to resolve their disputes prior to even going to arbitration or court. And they said now they're going to have an option. And the first thing that came up to my mind is, I kind of thought that mediation and arbitration have always been out there. They have been voluntary measures that people can go through if they wish to expedite something. And so this isn't anything new. Mediation's out there. If HOAs and individuals and homeowners are disputing items civilly, I would encourage people to go to mediation. I would encourage people to go to arbitration sometimes. But that is up between those two parties. And it's nothing. And here, the state of Colorado wants to make that established. And they want it established because then they would go through them in their office. Therefore, you get the point here? Making their office, this regulatory agency of HOAs, more important, because all of this would have to go through and funnel through them, because heaven forbid that this could take place anywhere else. And what we are doing, the more that we create regulatory agencies like this, we create a process where people are saying to, in essence, we don't know how to govern ourselves anymore. We can't, between as two individuals and two neighbors, take care of our dispute. And that is a sorry state of affairs, don't you think? When two neighbors, if you have a disagreement, can't just sit down and talk something out and talk something through. What are some of the other recommendations for the HOA office in Colorado here? Another one is, get this, I guess I didn't see this coming, did you? They want to establish a per unit fee for registration. So when they first got started, to prove their worth, they said, you know what, we're going to just charge so much money per every HOA. And it's the same cost for every HOA, whether it's 25 units, 100 units, or 300 units. Now they said, oh, wait a minute. Let's charge a fee based on how many homes are in the HOA. So instead of 2,000 fees for 2,000 HOAs, let's charge 2 million fees because there's 2 million homes in those 2,000 HOAs. And they're looking at annually of somewhere between $2 to $4 per home per year. That's a lot of money. And that allows this organization to do a lot more. You see what I mean when I say that sometimes we can have too much government sometimes? Once something gets established, all of a sudden it's needed and it will continue on. There's no sunset provision here. There's no doing away. They want to see things ramped up, even though the people in Colorado don't see its importance. What's one of the other things that they want to do? Well, one of the last recommendations they are stating here is that there needs to be more oversight with HOA elections. They think that there should be an election process, that the HOA department takes a look at elections, because heaven forbid an HOA can handle the elections of board of directors in their property. Well, hey, that's all the time that we have for today, folks. Thanks for joining me here on Where You Live. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend. Look forward to seeing you here next Saturday.